Thank you. If you don't know what zines are, we are going to get to that. I'm Michael Kilmister. I'm an academic developer in the Centre for Quality Support and Development at the University of Reading.
And I'm Victoria Grace Bland. I'm the Student Staff Partnerships Manager in the Academic Development and Enhancement team at the University of Reading too.
And we wrote this and conceived this project with Matt Haine, who is the awarding gaps kind of manager at the University of Reading, but he couldn't be here today due to running a workshop. All of us are professional staff, so this is a university-wide initiative. It's not confined to any one subject.
Okay, so at the University of Reading, there's been a bit of an institute-wide focus on strengthening our approach to student-staff partnerships and getting the student voice involved in teaching and learning practices. So kind of moving beyond our formal engagement mechanisms that we have, our course rep system, kind of moving beyond that feedback system that we have. So since 2020, we have been developing and investing in new partnership schemes. So locating students at the centre of design, delivery and enhancement of their programmes and curriculums. So from the outset, we have been really transparent in our aspirations for engaging a broad demographic of students through our partnership activities. So we actively encourage diversity and emphasise the importance of capturing student voices that traditionally go unheard. So we do that through our promotions and recruitment, and we actually say, we want to hear from our underrepresented groups and explicitly list the student groups and the characteristics of those students. So, we're being very transparent in that area. So two of the schemes that we're going to focus on today, so the student panel exists at an institutional level, and it's there to challenge and improve the university by putting the student voice at the centre of institutional decisions and projects that are happening. So it's a diverse team of 50 students, and they represent all levels of study, so from foundation up to PhD, and also represent all subject areas. We try to match up the demographic of our student panel to roughly match our student population at Reading. So the student panel allows us to get an understanding of students' experiences that are happening kind of right now. It's to work proactively in partnership with students at that kind of high institutional level. It complements our existing structures, so our course reps and our feedback systems that we have at the university. We use it to collect meaningful data and speak to students about strategic decisions that we're making. And we also make sure that we're demonstrating the impact that students are having on these big projects and priorities. So the other scheme that we're going to be talking about is the inclusion consultants, and our colleague Matt is kind of the expert here, but I'll do my best to kind of cover and do it justice. So the inclusion consultant scheme was launched in January 2022, and it's part of our whole institution strategy for closing the awarding gap. So the scheme employs a diverse team. There's around 16 students that are employed each year. And again, they work at that institutional level and they represent a broad spectrum of subject areas and levels of study. So the main aims of our inclusion consultant scheme is to collaborate with underrepresented students, to embed inclusion and diversity into developing courses and our services. It's to review our institutional policies and systems and practices through the lived experiences of our students. So just as a note, to be as inclusive as possible, we employ all of our students that are into these roles. So we pay them for their time because we feel that it demonstrates equity between our students and staff. And to make sure that we're enabling more sustainable opportunities for students who can't, volunteer beyond their studies. So yeah, those are our schemes.
Okay, Zines. They're short for fanzines, and they often come in this size, this kind of A5 size. They can come smaller. You can make them from a single A4 sheet of paper. They've historically, at least through the 20th century, been used by marginalised communities to express deeply sensitive personal issues or to pursue a particular project interest perspective. In our case, we really wanted to use them as a way of gathering perspectives from students on teaching and learning and the higher education experience at Reading generally, that we thought focus groups and surveys might not gather effectively, so to create a welcoming space. So in the summer of this year, Victoria, Matt and I, and a student as well, a placement student in Matt's team, put our heads together and thought, how can we have the student panel and the inclusion consultants create these zines and pay them for their time? And the process, we'll talk about that process in a moment. So we aim for authentic voices, authentic student voices. We want it to be creative, community building as well. And I want to point out that zines are the polar opposite, like the polar opposites, and we intended this of the kind of glossy toolkits you often find in this space that are often created with students as well, but we wanted something a bit more messier and something that could be distributed quite easily as well and was portable, accessible. So as I said before, with our zine-making workshops, we wanted to establish a welcoming and collaborative space with students. And here is a page from one of those workshops. We wanted to explore the potential of this, this was a bit of a pilot for more creative pedagogical approaches in this space. So we want to continue to evolve the zine concept and move into other spaces. So where can creativity and pedagogy meet? And create something, as I said, that can complement existing toolkits and resources. And there'll be a link to the Decolonising the curriculum toolkits that have been produced at the University of Reading as well. Back to you.
Yeah, so I guess when we were thinking about the zine concept and what we were going to do, it makes sense to kind of say how we set this up. So at the University of Reading, we have something called our Principles of Partnership, and they underpin our approach to student-staff collaboration. So these were developed with our Students' Union, student reps, professional and academic members of staff. So our Principles of Partnership state that partnership is based on values of trust and respect. It should be empowering and inclusive. It enables the collaborative development of meaningful change, and it creates a sense of belonging to the academic community. So we have these principles that underpin everything that we do around kind of co-creation and collaboration. So we've worked into our curriculum enhancement work, and we encourage programme teams to kind of use these principles of partnership when thinking about working with students. So to ensure that our partnership work is inclusive, and especially for the zines, we kind of set these ground rules to make sure that students felt that they were coming into a safe space, they felt confident to contribute their ideas, without fear or judgment of any repercussions. So if they're kind of telling us something about their programme, we're not holding them to account for that, but we are going to use that to make change. So in preparation for the workshops, we did send out a pre-work questionnaire. So we were asking students to reflect upon their own understanding and perceptions and experiences of 5 different themes. So we were looking at decolonising the curriculum, inclusion, diversity, belonging and community, with the recognition that those all interlink and overlap quite a lot. But we sent out the questionnaire to the students who were taking part, and then we collated all of their feedback, anonymised it and sent it back out to the students. So it really helps, and this is kind of a process that I usually do with the student panel to kind of get them to locate themselves within the feedback, to see what other people's experiences are so they can read other people's stories. So that really helped us to set up kind of the pre-work before we started the workshops. So the next step was to actually run our zine-making workshops, and we wanted this group activity to engender quite a casual atmosphere, and as we've said, a safe space in which students could freely share personal stories about teaching and learning and about their experiences. They could build connections with each other and enjoy themselves. So we scaffolded the actual workshop, and it's something to note as well. So this was in the middle of exams period. So this was kind of 2 hours out of their exam period where they could actually think about something else apart from revision, which we kind of heard in the feedback, didn't we, and around the room. So we initially asked students to create a quick identity mind map. So think about themselves and think about kind of putting themselves in the creative process. So we were asking them to quickly doodle and write quite freely, and that kind of got over that initial anxiety of, oh God, I'm going to have to do something creative. So then we prompted the students to think about the pre-work, the answers, and we asked them to consider one of the diversity and inclusion themes in relation to their own teaching and learning experience. So what did it mean for them? What did it mean on their course? And how could they portray this in a creative way? So we asked them to produce something, and it could be written or visual. We gave them a list of ideas of what they could do, and we gave them some examples as well, so they weren't kind of starting off cold. So we'd collected loads of materials from around the university. We'd gone and got boxes, and we got prospectuses, posters, postcards, loads of materials. We'd also got pens, pencils, you name it, we brought it along. And so we said, basically, just go, be creative, do what you want. And after kind of taking 10 minutes for them to plan their ideas, they spent their time kind of cutting and pasting, curating, writing, drawing, and just chatting to each other. So at the end of the session, we took time to share the design. So we walked around the room and we collated them onto a Padlet as well, so we could kind of bring together everything that had been created in the workshops. So by the end of the workshops, we were quite zen. Yeah. I mean, we took part as well. And we were quietly confident that, these creative spaces had provided opportunities to explore complex theories and things that, students don't necessarily just chat to each other about day to day, and kind of provided that space to talk about diversity, inclusion, and decolonisation.
Yeah, cool. So as Victoria said, we wanted these spaces to be really critical. I think that is a key part of decolonising curriculum approaches, and that's what almost sets it apart from other inclusion approaches in pedagogy, in that it is critical of practice, the practice in the dominant practices and hegemonies. So here are some student pages. So they produced a page each, and just moving from right to left. This one, a quote from here is, "Decolonial practices lived, it is not a theory." Here in the middle here, this piece was a collaboration between two students, one a PhD student and one an undergraduate, and it encourages a kind of question-led approach to reforming higher education teaching, and encourages students to get involved with policy. So we really wanted these, and we kind of guided the students and advised them that we wanted these guides to be for both students and staff. So staff could get a better idea of what students were looking for, but also could encourage their cohort and their peers to engage in the decolonising curriculum space. And here, finally, just above me, this talks about weird, Western-educated, industrialised, rich and democratic, and encouraging academics to move beyond these sources in their teaching and learning.
So yeah, we've got a few more examples here, and the designs were kind of deeply personal and reflective of their lived experiences, and it captured in the creative work their experiences. So we just wanted to share a few more where these kind of really brought out students' identity in their pieces. So I think it's actually left, isn't it? Right. Right.
Yeah.
So the written piece at the end there, we had one student wrote a powerful piece which touched upon accessibility of learning materials and gender. And they were talking about 360, which is our nightclub at the university. So 360 is bathrooms are often inaccessible because it's sometimes locked during the day. It hosts one of our only gender-neutral bathrooms on campus, so really important to that student. The one in the middle there, so one of our students created this amazing piece illustrating the hidden issues one might have as an autistic STEM student through their depiction of the day in a lab. So you can see by 3:30 they are hanging on till home time. And then our last one there, another student used collage and written text to speak about the feelings of isolation and outlining ideas to ensure women can feel like they belong on a course in a male-dominated subject area. So just some of the examples there.
We've been given the signal. The students really love this. We'll send out the slides, I'm sure they'll go out. But the students really enjoyed the space. They found it relaxing, even though they were hesitant, as there were a lot of students who weren't, confident in their artistic and creative skills. Here are the zines. I'll quickly...
Yeah, so from our zine workshops, we've created three different zines, which are kind of in the process now. One of them is just going through printing. Michael's handing it out. But we began to pull all of the ideas together, so the pre-work and all of the designs that were made. And we asked students to contribute ideas in the editorial process and come up with the title for the zine. So Road to Unity was decided by our students. So I guess what we've learned is that student voice is a powerful tool for change. And whilst we recognise that this isn't directly impacting teaching right now, we hope that this is a way that students can be heard and kind of share their thoughts and experiences in a way that is more accessible than perhaps a focus group or a survey. So we're hoping to track the impact from this, but as we said, it's kind of early days, so we've got a survey on the back of our zines. But yeah, we hope that in the future this is going to influence practice in teaching and learning at Reading.
I suppose, if you want to get in touch with us, our emails are at the start of on the slide deck. We're happy to chat if you're looking to do zines in your own practice. Thanks.